What's up, you guys? We have an awesome video for you today. My name's Brady Oak, and we're going to talk about 4 things that you need to know before you start your bodybuilding prep. So let's get into it. Okay, so hopefully you're watching this. If you are interested in doing bodybuilding, you're not really sure, male or female, doesn't really matter. It doesn't even matter which division you're looking at, whether it's female bikini competitor or male classic physique or men's physique or open bodybuilding, doesn't even matter. This is the video for you. I'm going to give you 4 tips. This is from my experience of not only being a competitor myself, I'm currently nationally qualified as a men's physique athlete trying to go pro, but also just as a coach. I've been coaching for 7 years now. I've had the chance to work with some awesome athletes, and now's the perfect time. This is why it's kind of like on my mind, is because as of today, I have several athletes starting their preps for the Summer Shredding Championships, which is in the middle of July. So they're starting their preps right now. And I also have my first competitor of the year doing his show in 5 days. That's Nick Bear. I know a lot of you probably know him. He's pretty popular on social media. I've had the pleasure of peaking him for his show, which is in 5 days. So because of all of that, I have a lot on my mind, and I figured this is the perfect time to get these tips out there because a lot of people don't know these things. Let's get into it. Now, there are 4 things. The last one is easily, and I mean easily, the most important thing that you could possibly do when you're getting into the sport of bodybuilding and considering competing. So stay for the end. Make sure to listen to number 4. The others are also very important though, so here we go. Number 1, before you start your prep, you need to be lean enough. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're kind of doing a prep to get shredded, so why would you need to be lean before you start a shred? And so I think that's just a common misunderstanding, is that you can start anywhere and get shredded in X amount of weeks. And that's true, but really you don't want to push your prep that long. And I think a lot of people underestimate, and by a lot of people I should say about 90% of people I would estimate, underestimate how much weight they actually have to lose for their bodybuilding show. This is a sport about getting very, very shredded. More shredded than you're imagining right now. If you imagine yourself at the most shredded and leanest you've ever been, you probably have to subtract maybe 5-10 pounds from that, maybe more, and then that's the sport of bodybuilding. So you're gonna set yourself up for failure before your prep even starts if you have too much to lose. Now, I'm gonna give some generalized numbers, and I do mean generalized numbers because everyone's different. Everyone has, different variables going on in their lives, and hopefully if you're working with a coach, they'll be able to identify when the best time to start your prep is. Generally speaking though, men should have no more than 25 pounds to lose for their prep. That's the most I've ever had to lose for my prep. I've had guys have to lose 40 pounds. I've had guys that had to lose 70 pounds for their prep. And anywhere over 25, it's just a little bit harder. It's not as fun. They have to dig way harder at the end. They have to dig way harder the entire time. It's not worth it because they are at that point losing a lot of muscle mass and literally have to dig like freaking crazy in order to make it on the stage. And honestly, most of them don't get lean enough because they just have too much to lose. So it's just not worth it. What you need to do is have a pre-prep. In that pre-prep phase, you will diet for a while, hopefully maintain, and then you can start your prep at that point. For women, I would have no more than 15 to 20 pounds to lose, preferably less. These are pretty high expectations right here, but I'm just giving it to you straight. You're gonna enjoy the process way more if you have less to go, and your chance of success is gonna be way higher if you have less to go as well. And kind of a side tangent there, don't overestimate how much you can lose in a week, because at the beginning, sure, you might drop really fast, but I promise you towards the end, you will not. And time is your biggest asset. You absolutely will not lose as much fat as you think you will towards the end of a prep. So just be aware of that. All right, number 2, you guys, know the investment. And I'm not just talking about money here, although I am talking about money too, but mentally, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. This is an extreme sport, you guys. This is harder than a powerlifting competition. This is harder than prepping for a marathon. This is probably going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done. And I'm not saying that to scare anyone. I'm actually an advocate of bodybuilding. I think everyone should do it at least once in their life, but you definitely need to do it at the right time and under the right circumstances. If you have a lot going on, if you're in a huge transitional period of your life, now's probably not the best time. If you're moving states, you're getting married, or I don't know, crazy things are going on, you're getting a new job. Those are probably times when you maybe shouldn't. And, I have prepped during moving states and stuff like that. I've gotten it done. It did make it a little bit more challenging. So I'm not saying that you just shouldn't. I'm not saying you should wait for the perfect time, because that probably will never happen, but you really need to ask yourself if now is a good time or not. The thing about prep is it is all consuming. It's not something that you just go to the gym for a couple of hours a day and then you can turn off. Towards the end of prep, it is all consuming in the sense where it's just always there. You're either hungry, or you're thinking about what you're making next for your food, or you're trying to figure out how to hit your macros correctly, or you're worrying about your cardio session that day, or your workout, or how you're going to function as a human being when you are literally just systematically starving yourself for months and months on end. And I should have answered this a little bit earlier, but a typical prep, I would say an average prep for people I coach is around 16 weeks. You probably can't do a 12-week prep. I kind of want to bust that myth now. Back in the day, people used to preach the 12-week prep. Most people fail at it, and I would not recommend that for almost anyone. Usually you're looking at 16 to 20 weeks, sometimes more. So schedule that in, make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, and then you're going to crush it. On the money side of things, bodybuilding's not a cheap sport. Your show is probably going to cost around $200 to $250. Your tan is going to cost around $100 to $150. Yes, you have to get a tan. You're probably going to want some professional photos, which might be another $100. Then now you're looking at also travel to the show. If it's local, then obviously you won't have to worry about that, but you might have to travel to a different city. There might be flights involved. There might be hotels involved, cars, rentals, etc. And that's all not including a coach, which we're going to get there in a little bit, but you're going to have a coach too. So all in all, with the investment side of things, know what you're getting into mentally, know what you're getting into financially, and plan around it. Again, the last thing I want to do here is sound like I'm trying to convince you to not compete in bodybuilding, because you're going to have a blast. And maybe I'll talk about that at the end, but it's still worth it, guys. Number 3 is posing. And so this one's actually kind of quick. I don't have that much to say, but just be aware that you do need to get good at posing. And if you're getting into the sport of bodybuilding and you're completely uncomfortable with the idea of flexing on a stage, this might not be the sport for you. And I know that sounds silly, but a lot of people, that is kind of out of their comfort zone, maybe a little bit too much. So be aware, you're going to be flexing on a stage, guys. There's no way around it. And you don't want to be bad at posing. So a lot of guys will say like, oh, I'll just get really shredded. I'll just stand up there. It's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. But you don't want to have that attitude. You want to do very well at your posing. You can get good at posing. I've personally coached awful posers and made them good posers. So you can get good at posing. Just be aware, you're going to have to put in the effort. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. Posing is a huge part of the sport that people don't talk about enough. And so I wanted to throw that in there as a big one. Just know, going into bodybuilding, you will have to pose. You will have to pose well. And if you don't, it's going to take a lot of the fulfillment out of the sport, because quite frankly, you're not going to do well. Last, guys, the last one. This one, man, I could not make this a bigger deal. And I have made this mistake before. So I am talking from the heart. Have a coach. Absolutely have a coach. And this is coming from a guy. I studied exercise physiology. I was the nerd that soaked up every bit of knowledge I could on bodybuilding, nutrition, training, like literally everything, guys. I was so sure that I was going to be able to coach myself for my first show. And here's the deal. I did get shredded while coaching myself for my first show, but I did terribly. I was incapable of making correct decisions for my plan to be able to compete at the level that I wanted to, and I did terrible. I prepped for a very long time for that show, and I feel like I completely wasted it because I did not present my best physique, and it drives me crazy to this day. I'm glad I learned my lesson, though. I actually turned back around, got a coach, competed less than a year later, and did astronomically better because I had a coach. So I know there's going to be a few people here that, number one, you don't want to pay for a coach. I understand it is an investment. Prep coaches are not cheap. The price is going to range between probably $300 to $600 a month for a good prep coach. That's just the reality of it. The truth is, it's like, if you don't do that one thing, it could ruin your entire experience like it did for me. So keep that in mind. Having the coach there is going to be your lifeline. They're going to get you through the hard times. They're going to let you know exactly what to do so you can look your best. And ultimately, that's what you want to do. If you go through this entire process and you step on a stage not looking your best, it sucks, guys. It really just sucks. But here's my promise. If you do get a coach and they are good and they help you look your best on stage, the reason why people love this sport and the reason why I love this sport is because it is so fulfilling. And it's like, there's very few sports, maybe not even any sport on this earth other than bodybuilding, that you give so much to. And because you give so much to it, the return you get, that fulfillment you get, is just unmatched. So I can't stress it enough. If you're going to do this, you might as well do it right, okay? It's gonna be worth it. I, like many people, thought I was only gonna do one show and be done. And I remember a few people were like, oh, just wait, you're gonna get, you're gonna catch the bug, you're gonna get obsessed with it. And I was like, no, seriously, like that's not gonna happen. It did happen. I'm completely obsessed with it now. I love it. I can't wait to get on the stage again. It's just so fulfilling, guys. Nothing is so fulfilling as accomplishing an extremely hard goal that you've set for yourself and that you've put so much effort into. The feeling you have on that stage, when you step off the stage, when you're with your friends and your loved ones after doing something that's so difficult that few would venture out and try, it's unlike anything else. So if I said anything to scare you off from the sport, I hope I can kind of reel you back in and say, no, you definitely want to do this sport. It's amazing. And obviously I am a coach. Obviously I coach a lot of people. Obviously you could say I'm biased or whatever, but again, I myself have a coach. I will never not have a coach ever again. Mistake was made. I'm not going to do that ever again. And hey, if you don't want to work with me, go work with someone else, I guess. But obviously just go work with a good coach. Okay. All right. That's it, you guys. That is the video. If this has helped you, make sure to leave a comment and give this video a like. I do plan on getting more into the bodybuilding content because, like I said, I have a lot of competitors that are getting into their preps and competing here soon. So make sure to subscribe to see how the team does. A little bit more information. I am the owner and the head coach of takeuncommonaction, aka TUA, and our team, Team Tua, competes every year at the Summer Shredding Championship show in Houston. They have a few other shows too in different places, but yeah, we compete in the July show and also the October show. Currently, July show might be a little bit too tight of a turnaround for you guys, but if you're interested in the October show, we are building up that team right now. Competing with the team is the most epic thing ever because otherwise it's a very lonely sport. So doing it as part of a community with like-minded individuals just makes it really, really fun. I also help guys and girls compete at other NPC shows or whatever show you have in mind. I do it. We also coach lifestyle clients. So maybe if you're not quite ready for the bodybuilding stage, come and work with us just as a lifestyle client, even off season, all that stuff. Again, the more you put into the sport, the more you're going to get back out. So the earlier you start working with the coach, the more fun you're going to have, the better experience you're going to have, the better physique you're going to have. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in that next video. Be uncommon and peace out.